George Washington's Mount Vernon, the father of our country's home, his final resting place overlooking the Potomac River. What better place to study and to explore an era gone by that has had significant impact on where we are as a nation today? Mount Vernon is located 15 miles south of Washington, D.C., in the state of Virginia. It is an expansive estate built by George's father Augustine in 1735. It didn't receive the name it bears today until several years later. This estate housing not only the magnificent mansion, of course, but also fabulous gardens and landscaping, a pioneer farm where George was able to practice and perfect his farming, a museum where you can even view his last set of dentures, and a distillery and grist mill, which was, at the time in 1799, the largest in the nation. Mount Vernon is meant to preserve George Washington's history, a history that changed the course of our nation. George Washington is known to have many myths attached to his name, much like having wooden dentures, or just think about the cherry tree and how he couldn't tell a lie. Though the cherry tree may have had some truth to it, his Mount Vernon estate is going to talk about the real story and answer the question, who was George Washington? When you first walk into the house, there's a little room off to the right. It's a small bedroom, and a real life story that we do know is true to help us understand a little bit about George is this one. The year was 1785, and a man named Elkanah Watson, who had come to visit, had a terrible, terrible cold, which left him coughing quite a bit. As he lay down that night, he pulled the bed curtains on his four-poster bed and lay down to sleep, hoping that would help suppress some of his coughing, but instead it actually made it a lot worse. So as he lays there coughing, he finds this figure at his bed, and he slowly pulls the curtains back, wondering what's going on, and sees George Washington standing there with a cup of hot tea for his guest to help soothe that awful cough he had. That is one of many stories of George Washington at home. He will always be remembered for his role in the war, of course, and as being the first president, and people did love him in that role as well. George Washington died in December 1799, leaving a grieving nation behind him. The Army Major General Henry Lee from the Continental Army once said of Washington in a eulogy, "First in war, first in peace, first in the hearts of his fellow citizens." A visit to Mount Vernon is going to share with us the whole George Washington, who he was as a husband, as a father, as a friend, and even as a slave owner. Though he is mostly known for his contribution to American freedom, he has many other sides we don't necessarily know about, and Mount Vernon wants to share those stories with us.